Hello, my name is Hadessa, and welcome back to my channel where I review books I've read. This week's video will be all the books I read in February in this year 2026, and I will start with my DNFs and make my way up to my 5-star reviews. I had 2 DNFs this year in February, and the first one was Passing by Nella Larsen. I got halfway through this book, but I had to stop because I was originally going to be reading it as part of my school, but it was just really, I had a lot of crude language. In case you're not aware, the whole premise of the book Passing is that back when there was segregation in America, some Black people had fairer skin and they were able to pass as a white person, hence the term passing. And this is about 2 acquaintances where one chooses to pass as white and one chooses to live in the Black culture and how that works out for them. I, like I said, only read the first 50%, but I stopped due to the crude language that was used. And I hear that apparently there's a tragic ending, but I didn't read it, so I don't know how that goes. And then I had one more DNF, and that was Out of the Silent Planet by C.S. Lewis. I love a lot of what C.S. Lewis writes. However, this was just really boring. I only made it about a quarter of the way through, and I unfortunately wasn't invested enough to continue. Maybe I'll try again in the future, but for now, it's a DNF. And then I had 2 1-star reads as well. The first 1-star read of mine was The Blood of Olympus by Rick Riordan. This is the 5th and final book in the Heroes of Olympus series, and I read this one mostly just to finish the series. I just wanted to be able to say I was completely done with it, and it wasn't great. It definitely wasn't good. There were 5 point of views in the book. I forget what all the 5 point of views there are, but I only liked one of them, and that was Piper's. And so, 4/5 of the book, I was just kind of sludging through. And so that was a miss for me. But there's also a little bit more content in the books, too. I think the 4th book of the series is where Rick introduces that one of the characters is gay, and that's continued as a plot point in this book, and you actually get his point of view too, which I know some families won't be very comfortable with. And then I had one more 1-star, and that was The Lightning Thief, the graphic novel by Rick Riordan. And this had terrible illustrations. The original book wasn't even that great, but I was like, maybe I'll try the graphic novel, maybe I will like it better, and I did not. It was really disappointing. And it also missed a few what I thought were key events in the first book. I'm not a graphic novel person to begin with anyway, though, so I'm probably not the best person to look for graphic novel recommendations. And then I had one 2-star read, and that was a collection of Edgar Allan Poe poems. This was for my literature, and this was 2 stars because it was just really depressing. The poems are really depressing. The editor in the back said that most of his poems are about death, beautiful women, or the death of a beautiful woman, which is true. That is definitely what it is about. And so it was very disappointing. There was one poem that I did quite enjoy, though, and that was Sonnet to Science. And that's why I bumped it up from a 1-star to a 2-star read. And then I had one 3-star read, and that was Anne Fights for Freedom by Nikki Shannon Smith. And this was cute. It was fine. It would be great for the people who I think like the Addie American Girl series, if they want to learn more about that time culture and get the point of view from another young girl who had to escape from slavery. It also kind of reminded me of the I Survived series, with the way it was written. I had a nice glossary of possible words you might not know in the back. So I would say that this was a really good like beginner chapter book for people who want to learn more about history. But it was personally just not something I was super interested in, which is fine. Then for a 4-star read, this is probably closer to 4.5-star read, I finally read The Count of Monte Cristo. And this book was so good, so thought-provoking. It was difficult to root for a specific character because all of the characters were flawed, which made them so realistic. You really knew exactly what motivated and drove each person and what their goal in life was. And it was just so good. And The Count of Monte Cristo, it is like a story of revenge, right? And so as a Christian, you can look at what The Count of Monte Cristo is doing and be like, oh, that's not a good thing to do. You really shouldn't do that. But I also couldn't help but admire the intelligence and strategy that it took to lay out all of these plans. And so that was impressive, even if it wasn't that great. It was like he was foolish but intelligent. You know what I mean? So it was a really good read. I read the unabridged version, which is like 1,200 pages long, which is ridiculously long, but I do still think it's worth it. There's a little bit of all bad content in there. There's language used. There's mention of people committing adultery. In one scene, it's not too explicit for people who are like in older high school, I think, but there's a mention of a girl who is raped and killed, which was a really not fun scene to read, especially. It was very jarring, even if they wrote it not super, like they didn't elaborate on it as much as they could have. And also lots of suicides, so many suicides, because honor was really important in this society, the French society, after the French Revolution, and apparently because so many suicides were committed. So just a whole bunch of things to be aware of. In addition to suicide, there's murder. Yeah, so definitely lots of content that you should keep in mind before you read the book, but it was a really good book, and you can definitely see why it became such a classic. And that's by, I forgot to say who it was by, but Alexandre Dumas or something. It's a French name. And then my 5-star read was The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. And this is one of my favorite children's classics. It is so good. The story of Mary Lennox and Dickon? Yeah, I think that's his name. And Colin. It was so good. And I don't feel like I can say very much about it. But it is definitely one of my favorites. And I would highly recommend it to anyone, but especially if you enjoy gardening or if you are just like wanting, it's just so beautifully written. But yes, especially if you love gardening, you will love The Secret Garden. And I also love most books that I read by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I have also read, I think, 2 others by her, but I love The Secret Garden. I do prefer A Little Princess, but I read that one in March. But The Secret Garden, I will almost always recommend. It was super great. So thank you so much for watching. I read a total of 6 books from start to finish, in addition to my 2 DNFs. I hope this helped, and as always, if you have any book recommendations, please let me know in the comment section below. Thank you! Bye!